Hello, everybody. Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl with Cosmic Owl Astrology. And I am late with the week ahead video because we're traveling, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because this week is just off the charts. Now, you can see this behind me. It's actually reversed, but I actually wrote about this configuration on my Substack, Cosmic Owl Astrology or Cosmic Owl on Substack. There's a link below. And I'm actually making my daily posts free on Substack this week while I'm away because I don't have time to write a weekly one as well as do this video and all those kind of things because we are kind of traveling. But I didn't want to leave you all kind of hanging because it's such a big week. So this behind me is a mutable grand cross. And I probably should have reversed it, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, it's huge. Okay, it's really kind of huge. So having a mutable grand cross, then we've got a full moon that makes a fixed grand cross is just like, my goodness. So it's a week of mad crazy change, an awakening, revolutionary kind of vibe to it. There could be some, incidents, shall we say, with all of this energy, kind of like, violence or accidents and things like that. But also, it's also got a very positive vibe as well. So please don't just, fear what's coming because I think it's good personally. So I hate doing these on my laptop because I don't like the angle and things like that. So I'm going to share my screen and so you don't have to look at my face the whole time. So, there we go, I'm over there. So here we are. I'm recording this on Tuesday, August the 13th. So we're going to look at the rest of the week ahead. Really, tomorrow, the mutable grand cross, early tomorrow, is at its peak. Now, I've taken out some of the things I wrote about on my Substack because there's so many extra pieces to this, like dwarf planet Orcus over here, 15 Virgo, the north node of Uranus exactly conjunct this Mars-Jupiter conjunction that we're going to start with. And the moon is going to be on the Great Attractor. So, I suggest going to read that Substack blog. And this mutable grand cross is kind of peak, but the peak's going to continue through the full moon as well. That is coming up this weekend, but there's other things happening too. So let's start where we're at on the 13th and actually move into tomorrow. So the first big aspect of the week is this Mars conjunct Jupiter. Now, I actually did look back, and the last time that Mars and Jupiter were conjunct in the sign of Gemini was way back in 1989. And that was a revolutionary time. The Berlin Wall came down, there was the Tiananmen Square massacre, there was all kinds of boundary changes, there was things going, kind of a revolution, more peaceful revolution going on in Poland. And so there was all kinds of things. There was something to do with Gorbachev and the Chinese as well. There was kind of new alliances and all this kind of thing. And I do think there's going to be more of that. But this is even bigger, this conjunction, because it's at 16 Gemini, square to Saturn, square to Nessus, really, square to Venus, square to Hecate, square to Orcus. It's on the north node of Uranus, and it's which is like Uranus concentrated, even bigger. It's also conjunct the new Venus star point that we are under, that was on June the 4th at 14 Gemini. And the moon over here, when it opposes Mars and Jupiter right after the conjunction, is on the Great Attractor. So this is just paradigm shifting. It's just absolutely amazing. So that is the big conjunction tomorrow, August the 14th. You can see it is at 11:21 a.m. Eastern. But there's so much around it that we can't really just think, oh, this is just the conjunction alone. This is going to drive change, big change. Mars, drive, will, Jupiter, expansion, with Venus, in relationships as well. Saturn's retrograde, so I kind of feel like this is like the doing away with the old guard or the patriarchy or whatever you want to call it, because all of that kind of stuff. And then the moon in Sagittarius is very visionary. Now, when the moon moves all the way around to Pisces, that will, activate this mutable energy again. So it's not going away. Just this is not going away. It's all week. Mutable is change. It's about information. It's about integration of beliefs and perspectives and all those kind of things. It's just, and with it being, conjunct the north node of Uranus, that's at 16 degrees too, for the conjunction tomorrow. That is like even bigger revolutionary change towards the future. Okay. And so I'm leaving some things in that I don't always look at on these ones, but kind of the outlet for this mutable grand cross, I wrote about it in my Substack, is Chariklo over here in Aquarius at a 15 degree of a fixed sign, which is one of the world points. It's the cross quarter degree of the times between the solstices and the equinoxes. All the 15 degrees of fixed signs are world points. And so this is just huge. And Chariklo has been helping us to write a new story, weave a new story from all those threads of all this information. And Chariklo is really the outlet for this mutable grand cross. So she is where we're going to in the sign of Aquarius, which is the sign of the people, humanitarianism, the collective, and the future, and what we're hoping and wishing for the future. So all of that to start the week. Wow. Well, we're into the week. Now on to the 15th, remembering that all of this is still in play. The sun over here in Leo will start trining Chiron and then move to trine Eris, and that's in Aries. That's kind of healing that I'm going to say overly yang energy. I see all this as bringing major change, and in a good way. We've got Vesta, the flame of inner devotion and commitment, but it's also your inner flame, but it's the flame of the hearth, of the state as well, is trine Eris. More shake-up energy, more fire, more drive, but it's creative and passionate. Okay, and look, then the moon comes in and makes a fire grand trine. So we have another big configuration. This is Phoenix, build up, the new, bringing it to the future, creation. So let me see where we're at now on the 15th. So also on the 15th, that's when Jupiter actually conjuncts the north node of Uranus. So, all of this is crazy. Then on the 16th, all of this still active, and we're approaching the full moon now. Heightened energy. Mars will square off to Saturn, and again Saturn's retrograde. So, and this is the opening square, moving away from when Mars and Saturn were conjunct and building on something, building on that change. Saturn is saying, let's let go of those old rules, let's write something new, it's astounding. I'm just like kind of mind blown by this week's energy. And there's kind of been a lot of fear around it too. So yeah, I just don't feel it. On to the 17th, we've got, but that doesn't mean there won't be some incidents. This could literally kind of have some people losing their minds with all of this energy. So do your self-care, focus on you. So on to the 17th, and the sun again has moved on a bit, and will trine Eris, the truth teller, the revealer of inequality and unfairness and all of that kind of stuff. So again, another shake-up energy, but it's a supportive, fiery aspect that is saying burn it down, but not in a healthy, necessarily in an anarchistic way, more kind of like, what's not working, let's stop doing that and create something different. Okay, so on to the 18th, and you can see now the moon has gone to the sign of Capricorn, and I do want to mention as well, at this point, Ceres, no, she's 1 minute away by this time. She is going the most out of bounds I've ever seen her. She is going to go to 30 degrees and 55 minutes of declination. And that is massive as well. That is, she's acting differently. She's going, look, I'm going to show you that you need to look after each other and fill each other's needs in a very different way than you have been doing. She is calling for change. So it's just, okay, so Mercury, okay, on, where am I? The 18th, sorry. Mercury, haven't mentioned him much, but Mercury has split back into Leo, started the week in the sign of Virgo. So I could go back and maybe I'll look at that point. Oh, when did Mercury go back? Sorry. That's, oh no, that's the moon. August the 14th. So, late 8:15 p.m. Eastern, Mercury slips out of Virgo and back into Leo, retracing his steps on his retrograde. Okay, which I actually kind of like a little bit, because he's not in one of his own signs where he's really strong at this point. So anyway, so that's another shift we've got. So we're on the 18th. But I wanted to mention it because on the 18th, Mercury, now back in Leo, will square Uranus. Okay, and this is all at 27 degrees, which means it's also aspecting the galactic center, and Mercury will be conjunct Vesta as well. There's going to be some big things in the news, some real kind of paradigm shifting words spoken, some real changes of direction based on this new sea change that we are seeing and witnessing. Just powerful. So powerful. And then also later on that day, 9:58 p.m., we have the Mercury kazimi. We hit the middle of the retrograde. So let's get that one exact. So Mercury and the Sun will be kazimi at 26 degrees, which is where Venus stationed retrograde last year on July the 22nd, conjunct Vesta. The sweet spot in the middle of the retrograde is kind of going to bring in this new, more fun, joyous, compassionate, heart-led energy in big style, integrating hearts and minds. And again, I just see this all as quite amazing. Okay. But then the kazimi, which will last a few hours either side. Again, I'm making all my Substack blogs free this week, so I'll give the exact times as we get approaching it. But while Mercury and the Sun are kazimi, while Mercury's kazimi the Sun, the Moon is coming up for the full moon. So let's move towards the full moon, right? And I've done a whole video on the full moon, but I just can't actually believe how big this is. Look at this. Moon opposing the Sun, 27 degrees, aspecting the galactic center, which is over here at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. The Sun conjunct Vesta, Mercury and the Sun, they will have left their kazimi, but so Mercury is back under the beams of the Sun, combust, but that often means burning away the old and bringing in the new as well. So, and then we've still got this, Mars is coming up to square Nessus, or has squared Nessus. Jupiter's now coming up to square Saturn, where Mars was. Venus is even further into the mix of this mutability. And we still, of course, have the great attractor over here at 14 degrees Sagittarius. So we've got the galactic center, which is the literal center of our galaxy, emitting new information, and the great attractor, which is like a space and time bender in a way. It's like you can see into things, see behind things. This is all about major truths being revealed. And then also we can see Ceres is here, right? Okay. And Ceres is now at her maximum declination. She is starting to slow down to turn direct on the 28th, but she is so close to Pholus, which is take the lid off it. Like, we're not going back. The lid's off. And we're not going back, of course. And really, all of this is square to the lunar nodes all week. So this is another point of change. Radical change. But look at this full moon again. Square to Uranus as well. Again, radical change. This is just, the world just feels different, looks different, thinks differently. We're going to look back, I think, on this month. Now then, this is the day also of the DNC starting the conference in Chicago, which the last time they had one in Chicago was in 1968. And a lot of these events and radical changes were seeded in the 60s with, of course, civil rights and things like that. Now, you're going to hear a lot of fear about the DNC conference being under this because it was quite violent at the time in 68. I actually do not think it's going to be. That doesn't mean there won't be protests. There's always protests. But I've actually been to, I went to the DNC in Philly in 2016. I was a national delegate for Bernie Sanders. And you can't get anywhere near the convention center. The security is so big. They've got these big perimeters. Everything, all the protesters have to stay outside the perimeter. And I just think they learned a lot from them and are doing things differently this time, which is very Uranus and very, all of that kind of thing. So they've learned to do things differently, right? So yeah, you get the idea. So I'm actually just going to take you one more day into the 20th, because whilst I'll be back home, I've got a lot of catching up to do when I get home. So then on to the 20th, and while we're still under the full moon, the sun reaches Vesta. This is also activating the degree of the Great American Eclipse that was in 2017. This is on Donald Trump's ascendant as well, and his Mars. I just think the news is not going to be really good for him. So anyway, that's my opinion. But then the moon is now in Pisces and coming up to square Jupiter, square Mars, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Nessus, opposed Venus. Black Moon Lilith has now joined the mix with Hecate over here. Look at this in Virgo. This is moving us into this Virgo energy, ultimately, in my opinion. Since the end of 2011, when fixed star Regulus left Leo after 2,160 years, from our perspective, has moved into Virgo, we have been moving towards, even though it might not have always been evident, but the rise of kind of that more Virgoan, more humble, more service-oriented, more meaningful kind of energy. And yes, rise of women. And this ends the week, really. I'll probably do more on it for next week, because we're going out with some friends here on our travels. But this is going to be a week to remember. I will say it is chaotic, and it is going to feel very frazzling and a little bit hard on the nervous system. So please, please, please do your self-care. But I think this sea change that is so much needed everywhere globally, this shift in consciousness, which is very much about the mutable ground cross, is happening, and the old guard is dying away, and it's happening everywhere, and it's happening in your consciousness too. So have an amazing week. See you next time.